Hi, I'm Ed Frontera, and in my counseling practice, I often helped clients who were challenged by decision dilemmas. When teaching at the university, I always included a section on problem solving and critical thinking in the curriculum. Well, about a year ago, I was introduced to a book called Smart Decisions by Mr. Peter Arthur Smith, who outlines a process that he calls option solving. We're here today with the author to share with you his process of option solving.
Hello, my name is Peter Arthur Smith, and I want to introduce you to the world of option solving. Option solving is a technique that I gradually stumbled across a few years ago in my work of advising executives or groups of executives within either for-profit or non-profit organizations. In that work, I would find myself discussing their problems. They would have financial problems, people problems, personal problems, motivational problems, hiring problems, or competition problems, and so on. If I let those discussions get out of hand, their whole lives would seem like one big problem. I've always tended to look on the word problem as somewhat of a negative word, one that would undermine the positive nature of any conversation. To this end, and over time, I started to talk executives about their options. This would not only change the nature of the conversation, but it would also turn out to be much more productive. More about this later. Around the same time, I reconnected with an important Einstein quote, where he said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." What was he saying? He was alluding to the fact that our minds consist of two broad hemispheres. One that devotes its time to more rational things, numbers, analysis, logic, words, data, and facts. The other which devotes time to more intuitive issues, concepts, ideas, humor, pictures, senses, and dreams. The rational mind is something the human species has developed over its animal counterparts. Animals and other species appear to have little rational capability, which is why humans tend to dominate them. Other species rely largely upon their instinctual or intuitive capabilities. With these capabilities and their experiential programming over thousands of years, they are able to do some incredible things, like escape wildfires or earthquakes before they arrive, precisely travel enormous distances when the seasons change, and so forth. What Einstein was lamenting, however, is how, as a society, particularly from the 17th century onward, we knew about the existence of both minds. Even so, we devoted our efforts to developing the rational mind and more than the intuitive one. Scientists and academicians wanted us to ignore our intuitive minds as unimportant and somewhat prehistoric. In fact, even further back, the great Greek playwrights would base their famous tragedies on persuading audiences to allow their rational thoughts to triumph over their more creative, passionate, and instinctual ones, as spurred by their intuitive minds. People like Einstein helped reawaken our interest in intuitive minds and their enormous unrealized capabilities, or the gift, during the early part of the 20th century. Since that time, neuroscientists have discovered a whole lot more. They are now aware that our rational minds can absorb about 40 pieces of information per second, whereas our intuitive ones absorb about 11 million pieces of information per second, especially with pictures, a huge difference in power. They have also discovered that our rational minds are not particularly effective at making complex judgments. That is, discerning black from white, good or evil, or truth from fiction. Our rational minds can resolve man-made logical issues like additions, subtractions, multiplications, reciting words, thinking step by step. These latter skills are admired in academic and many organization circles, but it can also be devoid of valid opinions or perceptions. Some of us are blessed with being much more capable in these rational areas, consequently, in academic terms, are considered to be much more intelligent. SATs are designed to measure our rational intelligence, but not our intuitive capability. We don't know how to measure the latter. Some people believe that students who are overwhelmingly driven by their intuitive minds usually end up dropping out because they are frustrated at the academic preoccupation with rational thinking. However, some people who are deemed highly intelligent cannot find their way out of a paper bag because they haven't developed the way to fully access their intuitive minds. Autistic people have particular difficulty in accessing their intuitions. This is where option solving becomes particularly handy. Option solving is a technique which enables us to fully utilize the power of our intuitive mind with its superior capability in making optimum judgments in complex situations. When faced with decision dilemmas, the more we can turn to our intuitive minds, the more likely it is that we will come up with an appropriate solution based upon our many varied life experiences and memories from a very early age. This is a counterpoint to our trained academic approach to problem solving, where we list the problem factors, dissect and analyze them, and then hope a logical 100% solution will emerge. If you have a superb rational mind, you will probably do better than most of us. But with our incredibly more powerful intuitive instincts, the playing field is much more likely to be even. Option solving, on the other hand, will introduce you to making more of our intuitive intelligence by means of the following steps. Step 1. Creating an intuitive thought-provoking question. What will be my best option in putting a strong team in place? Or what will be my best alternative in pursuing this market? Or what will be my best career step? Part of this question step is to inject considerations or consequences at the end of the question that will help or hinder our approach to the particular question issue, such as the type of people available to be part of a team, or the market opportunities most prevalent at this time, or my restrictions on travel for career opportunities right now. Step 2. Once your question has been formed, then you will devise your two bookends. These bookends are extreme options at either end of the choice spectrum. The purpose of these, as for the initial question, is to frame the exercise so that our mind can fully embrace the alternatives. The appropriate extremeness of these bookends is also designed to challenge our intuitive minds. Our intuitive minds will naturally push these extreme options away, and in so doing will generate a series of more insightful in-between options. Step 3. Come up with at least 5 to 6 in-between options. The reason for 5 to 6 options is to encourage maximum out-of-the-box thinking by the intuitive mind. They should all be real alternatives as determined by the original question. Once they are laid out, you are now in a position to apply your intuitive mind to make the best choice in this picture of options. Step 4. Emotional distancing. It can be more often than not be helpful to yourself to give a little distance before making that final intuitive decision. Give yourself 5 to a 10-minute break after you've laid out your options before choosing. Other times you might prefer a couple of hours. Even other times you might prefer to sleep on it, something we've all been encouraged to do at some point. When we return to our option picture, our intuitive mind will have subconsciously cleared away the clutter, made the trade-offs, and seen the forest before the trees. Now we can pick the best choice or alternative with the power of our intuitive minds. Step 5. As an alternative, once we have come up with our primary choice, we can also peel the onion. This means we can now pursue another sub-option exercise based upon our primary choice, with its own question and considerations, its bookends, and new picture of sub-options. Peeling the onion activity enables us to make optimal choices about sub-options. Such an approach can be particularly powerful when developing or executing strategies where a continuous series of decisions is needed to optimize our approach. Option solving can be incredibly helpful at each decision point. Step 6. Implementation. Now we can pursue the execution of our option solving efforts, the how. One of the important principles of option solving is not to get into the how mode before we have resolved the what. More about this in your forthcoming practical exercise. Suffice it is to say that when you come to implementing your option, you will most likely proceed with the conviction and emotional comfort that you have made the best choice. You are unlikely to second guess yourself because your instincts will be satisfied that you have settled on your best option at this moment in time. Group option solving. Although much of this introduction has been devoted to you and your decision dilemmas, there is considerable advantage in resolving such dilemmas with an appropriate group of people. One of its most appropriate advantages is the wisdom of crowds. Drawing upon the intuitive experience of an appropriately informed group can be especially effective. It has been well proven that where such groups are polled independently, their collective wisdom is much more insightful than one person on his or her own. The wisdom of crowds brings enormous value within for-profit or non-profit organizations, where the universe of participants already has a variety of experience and insights about its organization or particular domain. An added advantage of using the wisdom of crowds is the considerable increase in participant buy-in. The act of consultation is proportionate to the degree of commitment. So finally, the key points gained from option solving include accessing the whole mind, the intuitive mind, taking the advantage of the wisdom of crowds wherever possible, securing extra levels of buy-in where groups are involved, framing the right question and bookends to spur the most creative options, finding peace of mind in an ultimately chosen option because of all other reasonable options have been considered, being especially useful when pursuing specific strategies as it can optimize decision making at each key point on the journey. Now let's move ahead with your own practical experience in option solving to address one of your key decision dilemmas.